Hi everyone, it's Vicky here and today I'm designing for Limor Weber Designs. Today I'll be making this mixed media tag, so let's get started. I'll be working on a wood veneer tag and this is the stamp that I'll be using. This is a Lotus stamp from the latest stamp release by Limor Weber Designs. And today I'll show you how I can create a three-dimensional element for my tag by just using a stamp. I'm choosing a couple of pattern papers from this paper pad. The paper pad is by Prima and it's called Something Blue. So I went with pale colors and I'll be using my gel medium by Faber-Castell to cover up my whole tag. And then I'm going to stick the pink polka dot paper on top. Once this is nicely stuck down, I'll be using my scissors to cut out the excess. As always, you can find a full list of all the supplies that I'm using on my project just below the video. I'm using this tool, which is by Prima, and I'm going all over the edges of my tag to distress them. Once that's done, I'll be using the other pattern paper and I'm going to make a mark on where exactly I want this to cut it out. And now I'll be using my Fiskars trimmer. And I'm going to cut out a piece of this paper. Now I'm going to place it on my tag and then rip off the top of the pattern paper. I'm using again my distress tool on the edges, and once that's done I'll be distressing this paper even more. I'm using my scissors and I'm cutting on the edge a few times, and then I'm going to spray the paper with water. This is just water and it will help the fibers to soften so that I can curl up the paper easier. To add some texture on my background, I'll be doing some embossing. So this is a set by Lindy Stamp Gang with lots of embossing powder colors, and this collection is actually called Tresic. I'll be using the embossing powder from this set, which is called C'est la Vie. The stamp that I'm using is also from the new Limor Weber release, and it adds a nice stitching as a border. I'm using Versamark to stamp my border here and there, and then I'll apply my embossing powder. My patterned paper is bluish as well as my embossing powder, so I'm going for a tone-on-tone look here. For this project I want to keep everything nice and soft, since I'm going for a pastel look. After heat setting the embossing powder, I'm going all around the edges and inking them up. You can use any type of ink pad at this stage. I decided to go with the distress ink, and that's a Vintage Photo. So now I'm going to stick one paper on top of the other, and as you can see I'm using gel medium again as a glue, and also notice that I didn't apply gel medium at the back of the paper all over the edges. I don't want the paper to stick totally flat on top of my tag, and I want to keep that dimension. So to add even more texture, I'm going with my favorite technique, and that's using whipped spackle by Faber-Castell over stencil. The stencil is called Dot Fade by Tim Holtz, and I'm working with a spatula and adding some of my medium here and there. Here is one of my new toys. This is Mica Flakes and it's Gold Leaf by Prima, and I'm going to apply some gel medium and then stick some of those flakes on top of my tag. First I'm going to apply it with my tweezers, but then I found out that it's much easier to use my fingers. By adding those gold leaves on my tag, I feel that it gives a touch of elegance. Gel medium dries totally clear, so although it looks milky at the moment, it won't be shown at the end once it's dry, and the only thing you will be able to see are those golden leaves. And at this point I realized that my cat was drinking water from the jar where I keep my brushes. So anyway, here is how shiny it looks. And now it's time to work with the stamp. This stamp is gorgeous, and I decided to create a three-dimensional element out of it. I'll be using one of my favorite techniques, which is paper piecing. So first of all, I'm stamping my stamp many times, and I'm actually using Victorian velvet distressing. I just wanted an ink that was slightly darker than my pattern paper. This pattern paper is again the same as the one I've used for my background. And the idea now is to cut the petals in layers and then stick one layer on top of the other to create a dimensional flower. So here I am cutting one pair of the petals, and I'm also going all around the edges with the same ink. And just so I won't get lost with all those little pieces cut out, I'm assembling the flower as I go. And here are all the pieces. I have also stamped my flower, so I know I have a reference of what petal goes where, and now I can stick one on top of the other. I'm making sure that I'm using some foam adhesive at the back of each layer so that I can add some dimension. Paper piecing is one of my favorite techniques of all times. I think that creating a dimensional element by paper piecing, it always brings your project to life. And if you're wondering what you can do with this kind of tags, well, I use them to decorate my craft room, and this particular one is also great for decorating a girl's room. And now my dimensional flower is ready, but I'm making sure that I add some foam adhesive at the back to level up the different layers. The foam adhesive that I'm using at the back isn't too thick, so although it adds a bit of dimension, it doesn't make my embellishment too bulky. So once that's done, I can stick it at the very bottom of my tag, and now it's time to do some finishing touches. This is gold acrylic paint, and with a very thin brush I'm going all over the flower and adding some golden touches here and there. This will actually bring everything together, so since I have accents of gold on the background of my tag, I need to add some golden touches on top of my embellishment. I'm also using my Signo White gel pen to add some white touches. This also helps to bind the element with the background, since I have used white embossing paste through that stencil to create the texture. Before I wipe off that gold paint from my working area, I'm going to spray it with a bit of water to make it more runny, and then with my thin brush I'm going to make some splashes. I hope you can see the shimmer. And now for even more embellishing on my tag. So I have created a bow with my seam binding, and I'm going to stick it on top of my embellishment with some foam dots, and then on top of that I'm sticking one of my Prima flowers. This Prima flower is from a very old collection that I had in my stash forever, but the color of that flower really matches the color theme of my tag. These are jeans plates, and it's from the Prima Junkyard Findings collection. I'm going with a plate that says happiness, which I'm going to stick on top of my tag. I chose this plate not only for the wording, which I love, but also because it's golden and it matches my theme perfectly. Now I'm also going to use one of those keys from another Prima Junkyard Findings collection. I believe this is called Vintage Keys, and I'm also going for the gold key. I'm going to stick it just next to my plate, and my tag is pretty much ready. And just because I can't stop with finishing touches, I decided to add a few more elements on my tag. So I grabbed my butterfly punch. I punched out a few butterflies out of the pattern paper that I've used for my tag, and I'm going to stick it on my tag. I'm also making sure that I'm not sticking them totally flat, so I'm adding just a bit of gel medium only at the center of my butterfly. As you can see, I'm using the pink pattern paper butterflies where the bluish paper is, and the bluish butterfly where the pink paper is. So that will help the butterflies to stick out even more. Now all that's left to do is to add a hole at the top, and my tag is ready. And that was the project for today. I hope you had fun and got inspired. And if you did, don't forget to leave me a comment as well as give me thumbs up on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching.